Awesome. So I took this class called Senior Seminar class.
I'm not sure that it's rolling.
Oh, it is if there's a red light, it's rolling.
Okay.
Awesome. So I took this, for my final semester in college, I took this class called Senior Seminar, and we had guest speakers in our class. And they said, you know, since you're majoring in mass communications, you gotta do this because you love it, and not for the money, because you're not gonna get paid for these jobs that you're gonna do after college. And I'm like, all right. So I was an entertainment journalist for my school paper, the campus paper called the CSU Pueblo Today, and they changed it to the Today at CSU Pueblo recently. And I remember my very first concert that I had to review and take photos and interview was this group called 303 out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And they did a song with Katy Perry and stuff like that. I got hooked with concert journalism. And on my camera there, you'll see a bunch of bracelets that I attached from the Roxy from Los Angeles. And it was pretty awesome to be like, all right, since I don't get paid as a journalist, I want to see if I can become a concert journalist now in LA and use my degree that way. And sure enough, every single week, I would get an LA Weekly and go to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, where it sounds like a gay bar, a restaurant, but it's not. It's for everybody, and the whole place looks like the Hard Rock Cafe, but cooler. Yeah, and there's a statue of Lemmy from Motorhead there, and they would always say, I don't drink or nothing, and they're like, I would walk in, they already knew what I was drinking, which was an Arnold Palmer, which was like half lemonade, half iced tea, and they would have it ready for me, and they would do my menu, and I would pull up onto my table with my own newspaper, and it was pretty much having a set menu, but this time, I would just circle which concerts I wanted to go to on the Sunset Strip. And I had to put it in 2 weeks in advance so their publicists and their managers and their agents would know that I'm putting credentials in. And one after the other, I kept on getting approved for all these concerts. So I'm like, no way, this is so gnarly. The degree that wouldn't pay me nothing would get me all these free concerts. And it was like the best gig ever. Like to get paid to go to concerts, who wouldn't want that, right? So I was like going to the Key Club, the Roxy, the Rainbow, the Viper Room, the Whiskey A Go-Go, the Hollywood Palladium, the Troubadour, the Malibu Inn, the Gibson Amphitheater. Just all these concerts just thrown at me, and I'm like, I grew up listening to all these bands, and I get to go see them for free, and I get to take pictures of them and interview them. I felt like I was living that kid's life and Almost Famous, but instead of following one band, you followed everybody. And some of my favorite memories was, I covered this group that was like from the 60s, and they were called UFO. And I'm like, this is so cool. And I was like, you know, front row, taking pictures, first one in, last one out. And I was like, you know, writing their set list down on my journal. And one of the guitar players waved everyone's hands away from me, and he gave me his set list right after their set. So that was a cool thing that happened. At the Roxy, I covered this band called Filter, and they sing the song, Hey Man, Nice Shot, and Richard Patrick used to do guitar tech for 9 Inch Nails, and he sees me in front row, just like at the Key Club, and he grabs my pen and my journal out of my hand, autographs it, hands it right back. I'm like, this is nuts. And I go see at the House of Blues, my very first interview that I ever did live professionally was with Be Real of Cypress Hill, and he had all this weed on the table, and it was so potent, and we just talked about pro wrestling and Be Real TV and all this cool stuff. And it's on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. And Hollywood Palladium, I celebrated my 1-year anniversary 100th article with one of my favorite bands, Deftones, which is pretty awesome. And I was in the photo pit taking pictures of everyone, and I never thought, I decided to move back home, and after that, and having another dream job as Clive Barker's apprentice, and he gave me my very first journal, and I finished that first journal, and I gave it to him, and he draws this pecker in it with wings. I'm like, that's so cool. And so I moved away back to Colorado, and I didn't want to drive 2 hours to Denver to cover shows. And I'm like, why don't I apply what I learned from Clive and what I learned from the Sunset Strip and other venues all over LA to my hometown and see what would happen. And I came up with a new style of journalism called Tiger style journalism, and it's after the Wu-Tang Clan, because there's AP style, there's Chicago style, and you multiply it by Gonzo style, which is Hunter S. Thompson style, and then you get Tiger style. So it's pretty, I put out a set list, like all the band's names in the article, everything, and I applied that knowledge to my hometown of Pueblo, Colorado, and I said, hey, I'm moving to Florida, I just want 3 bands and 3 comics to be on this bill, and I tagged 1 member of each band to be a part of this thing, and they said, we all went in on this. I'm like, crap, so this one-night thing was supposed to turn into a 3-day event, and it turned into this festival called Sareth Fest, Music and Comedy Festival, and thank you. So there's film and storytelling, there's like Pinhead and like, you know, it's like Fear and Loathing meets Hellraiser. So you'll see like the Cenobites on the bottom, and there's that scene where that conference. And so I never thought that my writing would do anything. And this festival's free to get in. And I put all my buddies on the bill, whether they're ska or hip hop or metal or punk, folk, whatever. As long as we play original music, I'm putting them on. And I bring my comedian friends on, and I couldn't afford to bring my comedian friends to Colorado. And so I pretty much said, all right, I'm gonna start a new festival here. And so it's gonna be in Daytona Beach now in October. So you guys can come check out free comedy and music and all that good stuff. So I think that's 5-7 minutes, I guess.
Right. Yeah, just under time.
Cool, and I think that's about it. So hopefully we'll see you there at the festivals and see all my buddies perform. I'm Sareth Ney.